So getting back to comics that or comic book experiences or stories from our childhood. Vaughn, do you have one that kind of sticks out in your mind?
Oh yeah, there's a couple of great ones, but another one that kind of like still haunts me to this day, and my grandma will never let me live it.
Haunts you? All right, welcome everyone to another episode of the Comix Asylum Podcast. I'm Steve.
I'm Vaughn.
And we're gonna hop into it right now with some interesting topics. And we've had an interesting week here in Canada, getting our book ready, getting it all fulfilled, and kind of got nostalgic myself, thinking about when I was a kid, and what comic books kind of made an impact on me, and what it was like collecting, and now being on the other side of it, being a creator. And with our debut book coming out, well, actually it is out. It just hasn't necessarily, we're waiting for the Canpar guy to show up, but
Yeah. Before you get into it a little bit more, I just want to note, this is going to be our episode 17. So we're going to start keeping track of these things, I guess.
Is it 17? Is it 17 or 16? I don't know. Well, check the thumbnail.
Well, that last one was 17. So technically, I think this one's 18.
Good, right.
On what you numbered the last one, right? So
all right, fine. So excellent. So we got we're at 18. All right. Our podcast can drink in Ontario.
Yes.
So getting back to comics that or comic book experiences or stories from our childhood. Vaughn, do you have one that kind of sticks out in your mind?
Oh yeah, there's a couple of great ones, but another one that kind of like still haunts me to this day, and my grandma will never let me live it.
Haunts you? Okay, kick it.
It wasn't like a haunt, but like it's just one of those ones where it's like I end up showing up 5 hours late for something just because I got to the comic store. So this is the same back in the day. You like leave on a Saturday, go to the comic store to pick up your books and everything, right? Because you had your bag of books waiting for you there. But my place was down in North York, what was it? Yesterday's Heroes, I think it was.
Okay, yes.
Shining Night. And went down there, picked up books, and just got so enamored with some of the books that I picked up. I just ended up spending all my money, even my TTC money, to get back. Right? So, all that are in Canada, you'll know TTC. Debate if any young kids exist is trying to get around the city, right?
Right.
So I spent even my seed money just to pick up every little book that I can. So packed that up and made the truck back. So that was a 5-hour walk.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, because it was like I was up at you'll know where it is. I was up just at the cusp of North York at Eglinton and Young, right where the
you're Young and Egg. You're not Young and Egg.
Young and Egg, where the swinging lady was.
Oh no, wait, that's not Young and Egg. That's Vic Park.
Victoria Park and that, yeah. Right. So right there, but I was
Golden Mile. I think that was the Golden Mile swinging lady.
Yeah. So then I was all the way down by like Coxwell and something, by my comic book stores. So I ended up doing the whole truck, and just followed the whole line.
How old were you?
Must have been like 12 or 11 or something like that.
Man.
Right.
So that's a dicey decision.
Yeah. So by the time I got home, I was like, "Where were you?" And these are the days where you didn't have a cell phone or anything like that. So I was in full panic mode by then, right?
Yeah.
1 hour trip was supposed to be turned into like a 5-hour tour, right?
You're like the littlest hobo of comics, right?
Oh yeah.
Just wandering.
I got a good batch of books that day. So
yeah.
Couldn't complain.
It's a good story. Mine is nowhere near as traumatic or dramatic, but I guess more of a sign of the times. So this is back in the day. I might have been 10 or 11, and this is pre-dating comic book stores, or like at least when I was going to them, because that was like a special trip. Would be go to like Dragon Lady or Silver Snail or something like that, which was downtown. And I ironically lived in North York as well too, which is, I guess, a city above Toronto, which is now part of the GTA. And I went to a store called Becker's, which was a neighborhood variety store. Becker's. So if anyone from the Six who's listening to this and remembers those, like Max Milk, which I guess in Quebec is Couche-Tard still, but and I think there's a Becker's or two kicking around in the city, but it's an old variety store, and it was a great cover of, I think it was Captain America 241, and it was the Punisher versus Captain America, and it's a pretty iconic cover, I think drawn by Frank Miller, and he's standing on Cap's shield and has his gun pointed at Cap. And in Canada, the prices were a little bit different, so this was a 40-cent comic, and I paid for it with 40 pennies. So I went to the counter, and I dropped my 40 pennies on the counter, and you hear all the clunk, 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 clunk as they spin around. And let's just say the dude at the counter was less than impressed. And I go, you could count it. And he was like, nah, get out of here, kid. And so obviously I bought it, but yeah, it was, and I didn't shortchange him, no pun intended. I gave him 40 pennies, but I don't think he enjoyed counting it all.
Yeah, and to buy a comic with pennies. I'm a little bit
nowadays
younger.
You'd have to drop 550 pennies.
I did, yeah. Oh, we just at the store the other day when we were a thing, and I didn't realize that one of the books that I paid, it's some of the Image books are still $3.99, but the Marvel ones, they're up all the way up at like $6 something.
Didn't you? Well, obviously with the Canadian conversion, it might be a little bit higher. But didn't you look at one? I think it was one of the Ultimate Invasion books.
So it's this one.
$8.99 or something.
Picked up this one, and this one is $6.99 US. So you do the conversion, you're talking $8, almost $10 Canadian, right? So I mean, it's adding up, right? It's a bigger book than normal, but when you look at it at first glance, you're like, I don't know, right? So good old inflation, right? So
good old inflation. Well, it is what it is. It's everywhere. It's not just localized here in North America. It's worldwide. We just got to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So shifting from the past, let's move into the present. What are you reading now? Obviously, you have that Ultimates book.
Yeah, so I got this Ultimates book, like this one here with the Brian Hitch cover. So this is the continuous, I guess, Ultimate Universe from the little mini, I guess the 5 or 4 issue run that they had leading up into the relaunch of this universe. And then I picked up this one too, Geiger Ground Zero, which is the one from Gary Frank, Jeff Jones. I guess this is the core
Ghost Machine,
Inception
right?
book. Yeah, Ghost Machine. So this is the Inception book. So there's only going to be 2 of these. So there's this one now, and then there's another one next month. And then it goes on a hiatus. And then this series comes back, I think in April or May sometime. And then come January, they're going to be launching the other books of the series from the other creators, right? So I think it's kind of like a shared universe as well, too, in this kind of Ghost Machine kind of entity as a whole.
As far as I know, it's all shared. And do you know if they're going to renumber or are they going to continue the numbering when it comes back?
That I don't know, because at the end of the book, it kind of gives you the timeline as to the books that are going to come out.
Right.
So the next ones, I think, are the Brian Hitch one and the Jason Fabrock one and stuff don't come out until early next year.
Okay.
Right. So what
we're talking January, February?
January, February. So it's great art. So yeah, so right now you got the November one, then you got the December one, and then you have January, which is the Ghost Machine issue 1, which I guess is a collected issues, an extra size 48-page special introducing all the characters from the universe. So it's going to have the Rockefellers, Redcoat, which is the Brian Hitch one, and then the Jason Fabrock one, which is called Rook and Exodus or something like that. I think it's just called Rook, but it's I guess the title underneath it is Exodus as well too. So it's a subtitle. So altogether right now, 1, 2, 3. So right now, I guess within the first year, they're launching around 6 books from the looks of it right now. So it's going to be interesting.
So I guess that initial one shot is kind of, remember CrossGen when they came out with their book with all their characters in it?
Yeah.
You think it'd be similar to that?
I think so. I think it's going to be like maybe a short story introduction of all the characters, kind of like a mini, like an issue 0, kind of a little bit of self-contained stories that don't need any kind of continuity, and then they'll launch right into the new books with, I guess, I don't know if they're going to recap or what, or there might even be excerpts from the new books based on what they're working on, and you're just getting a sneak peek, right?
Okay.
So I'm not too sure, but I mean, it looks all good, but like we were talking about before, it's really just an Image book, right? Underneath the sub banner of Ghost Machine, which is like a sub studio, right? Like how Skybound is, right?
Right.
So that's really what they're doing, but it's good. I mean, I always like Gary Frank. It's just like getting him on a regular book, is a monthly book is always interesting because it doesn't seem to last very long, right? So let's see how this works
puts
out.
puts a lot of detail on the page, right? So
Yeah, right. But they've had a lot of lead time as well too. So I think that might be the situation that could benefit them really nice. Is that they're probably already 6 months out worth of books that are already been done. So they should be able to continue on a good pace for a while. And I don't think every story is going to be continuous month to month. I think they're doing like sets of arcs, and then they'll start back up again.
Kind of like Netflix for books, for comics.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Do 6-episode run,
Yeah,
or 6-issue run, then hiatus a little bit, and have the other books kind of take over, and then you can, ramp up and do it again. Well, we'll see. Well, it'll be interesting to see what their publication schedule is going to be and how they're actually going to roll out the universe.
Yeah, the production's great. Everything so far that I've seen of it, I'm on board with. It's just going to be a matter of keeping that level of quality up there, right?
Right.
So we'll see how it goes.
So the book looks great.
I'm going to add it to my pull list. I'm going to pretty much add all the Ghost Machine stuff to my pull list and try to start on a regular review. I'm hoping before early next week, I'll have a more in-depth review of this and some of the other books on our channel as well, too, moving forward, right? To try to get more long format reviews of these books as well, too.
Right.
So just a hope.
Well, for me, I guess I'm going back in the past. I'm reaching into like nostalgia 101. We were at Big B Comics in Hamilton yesterday, and went to go visit our pal Walt, and who's the owner of it. And I actually saw an Alpha Flight book with a very interesting cover, kind of an homage to Alpha Flight's initial run under Byrne, and it had Guardian on the cover. So I picked it up, and I have to say that it kind of has me interested in reading more Alpha Flight.
Who's drawing it?
Oh, I think it's Scott Godlewski. Scott Godlewski, and Ed Brisson is the writer.
Okay.
And it's basically following the fall of Krakoa. So the Canadian government is cracking down on mutants, and it's kind of hilarious because a bit of a twist on how Canadians kind of see themselves as, the majority of us, welcoming and, tolerant, and they ain't having it with the mutants. So you've got like box inspired sentinels that are hunting down mutants, and Alpha Flight is kind of embroiled in the middle of it. And I have fallen off of Alpha Flight like for years. So I think after Guardian kind of was incinerated, and then there was the creative switch to have I think it was Mike Mignola and Byrne switch their books. They went from Hulk to Alpha Flight. So I think Byrne was on Alpha Flight and Mignola was on Hulk, and then they switched after Hulk came out of the roads and battling Nightmare. And so I followed it up until I think maybe until Jim Lee, just before Jim Lee took over some of the art chores. And then since then, it just hasn't had the same kind of appeal that it had in the early days when Byrne and Claremont kind of introduced them in X-Men, and then obviously Byrne had their own series. But I have to say, this is there've been a couple of starts where I've kind of given it a shot, and then it was like, I like it, but this one issue, it was pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. Department H is not to be trusted. If for all of you that don't like the government, it's kind of up that alley.
Yeah, because they've tried a couple of times to relaunch it over the times and get like spits and spurts, and it's never really gotten a long form arc for a while, and then it just dies off. That's typical Marvel stuff, right? Some of their books, you could do 3 to 5, and it kind of comes out of the gate pretty heavy, and then you don't hear nothing from after issue 5 about it, right?
Yeah, I think looking back on it, like when you factor in like the business aspect of it and then like the creative aspect of it, unless you have a writer or a creative team that's fully invested and it's kind of like a television show. Season 1 might be amazing because you've been planning it and developing it for a long time, or you have a really good story to tell, right? But if you don't have the numbers to continue the show, it could get canceled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then also
Netflix
too, if you don't have committed creators, once they decide to leave the book, whoever takes it over may not have the same drive or even same fan appeal, and then that can cause the book to fall off. And I think Alpha Flight's probably been a victim of that a few times. But being part of the X-Men universe, connections to Wolverine, some really great characters. I know for a while they were part of. I'm probably going to get this wrong. They're part of some sort of Earth defense where they're up in space, and I think Captain
Marvel. They were part of Sword.
Right.
They're part of Sword for a while. That's a little bit after. I think Joss Whedon did that run with John Cassidy. I want to say John Cassidy. Why don't I want to say Cassidy? The artist, but yeah, he did that for a bit, and then Beast was helping with them, and they were part of the whole Sword entity for a while.
Right.
And then that flew underneath the radar for a while, and then that got disbanded. But yeah, they've had a couple mutants in and out of the team as well too that have kind of changed the makeup out over the years. So
and then the OG mutants, North Star and Aurora, they're in it. So it's kind of interesting and dealing with Mac's fractured family life and all that kind of stuff. So it's actually quite engaging. I think I'll probably roll back and pick up issue 1, 2, and 3, and then follow it for a little bit and see if it continues to hold my interest.
I think I have 3, and I finished reading it, I think, but I got to double check. But yeah, from what I saw, most of it was good.
Yeah.
What I saw.
Well, moving away from the Canadiana, including my lovely Honest Edge shirt, for those of you who are watching this, what are you watching?
Right now, I just finished episode 2 or 3 of Invincible. I think it's 3, episode 3. Which I think was good. But as a person that read Invincible for most of its arc when it was actually getting printed, I could see how somebody like me would take issue with it, because some of the more, I guess they would probably be dull for TV parts, they're kind of skipping over, right? And they're kind of trying to get into the meat of the bones of everything a little bit faster. And they're doing some creative choices with some of the character choices. Like one of the villains, they've kind of aged up quite a bit. Still like a lot of the core principles, but they've aged up. And then they've kind of restructured some of the characters so they have more prominent positions in the book versus in the cartoon versus when they were in the book, they were just a love interest. Now they actually have a part in that universe. But overall, the show's still pacing out pretty good. I don't know how he's going to make it work when he's saying that he wants to do 8 seasons, because he's moving at a pretty healthy pace. And my guessing right now is by the end of this season, he'll introduce most of the big bad of the Vulturemites. Sorry, what I always pronounce it wrong.
Viltrumites? Is that what
Viltrumite, yeah. Right. Yeah, he'll introduce those big bads, and then that will kind of start off into something, because there's going to be a couple years, if he's doing multiple years, where it's just going to be fighting. There's going to be just big arcs of fighting, and I think that's the giant appeal that he wants to get to. But there's chunks of that book where, I don't know if they're going to do the stuff where Mark's in alternate universe for a couple of seasons and stuff like that, because in the book there's some giant time skips. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that stuff. Right. Even the one with the dad, not to spoil it, but he shows back up or in this or whatever. Right. But he's done that arc where he shows up is probably 50 issues in.
Okay.
Right. So they went so the arc of the story has kind of jumped from episode 1 through 20, issues 1 through 20, I mean. And then now they've kind of skipped out to like the mid 40s, 50s now, right? Like they've jumped around quite a bit. And they're kind of cherry picking stuff. But I get how it is. As a TV show, you can't kind of take the same continuous story that a comic would do, because it wouldn't make for the same entertainment levels, right?
It's also an adaptation, right?
Yeah, it's an adaptation.
So would you kind of say, because I never read Invincible, but I did read a couple of issues. I remember you would like bring it into the studio back in the day. Yeah. And I'm like, what is this carnage on the page?
On the page, yeah.
It's just, it was mind blowing back then, what the Viltrumites were doing and some of the all out battles.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And so are you saying that they're kind of like taking a greatest hits approach to the storylines for the
I
for the
think
animated?
so in some ways. I think so. I think what they're more trying to do is they're kind of taking out the fluff. So
Okay.
like normal in the normal series, there's a whole bunch of stuff with and they might still do it where Mark is in college and all
Yeah,
that
he's
kind
in
of stuff.
college now. Like
Yeah, he's in
just
college
started.
now, but there used to be like the hero of the week kind of stuff that he used to fight in each
Okay.
issue. But they've kind of gotten rid of some of that stuff because he would have already fought like 20 guys already by now,
Right.
based on time he's in the like he's in college and stuff like that. So they're kind of skipping around, which is fine. I think it works as well too. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do the relationship though with his current girlfriend. That's what I'm really interested to see how that works out.
Right. Okay.
Because they have a big star in the voice actress, right? But if they keep on going at the pace that they're going, who knows, right? No spoilers, but yeah, who knows?
No spoilers. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah. On my end, I'm watching Blue-Eyed Samurai. I was traveling and I caught it while I was on the plane because somehow in planes now, even though you're paying ridiculous prices, you are the entertainment system. So if you don't have an iPad or a phone,
You're screwed.
yeah, you're screwed. You're screwed.
Yeah.
So and that's happened on the last two flights that I was on. So anyway, I downloaded that and it's great. Animated really, really well. So it's on Netflix. And I will say that the story wasn't anything that surprised me. So like the twist, you don't have to wait long to get the twist. First episode's about an hour. You can kind of see it as it's going along what the twist will be, but it's really enjoyable. Like it's the production quality is great. And one little note that I saw on X is that the fight scenes are basically they basically filmed the stunt team doing the fights and then animated over the stunt team. So there wasn't any like, at least from what I caught, there wasn't any rigging of anything. It's just they just filmed the stunt team and then drew right over them or animated right over them.
Okay. So
Yeah,
just kind of get all the fight a little bit better, right?
Yeah. It's really well done. The animation is and this character designs super nice, super crisp. You would watch it just to watch it. It's kind of like the animation's not the same, but it's kind of like Arcane, where it is so well done that you're immersed in the world, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I
No,
guess Spider-Verse is the same way.
I got to check it out. I'm probably going to download a couple episodes for our trip up to Montreal.
Yes.
This weekend.
For those of you who don't know, we're going to Capitaine, Quebec on Saturday, and we're going to have an in-store signing there. So if you're in the Montreal area, please pass by between 12 and 3. And we'll be there with debut issues of Atrium. And we'll be signing them and, meeting and greeting our fans, old and new. And we hope to see you there.
Good. Yeah, no, it's looking forward to it. So yeah, I'm going to download some of that and have for the trip up because that's a 5-hour trip. Right.
Yeah, we're taking the train. Taking the train, so it'll be a 5-hour ride, but I like that ride because you get to relax, you get to see the countryside.
Hopefully, you have a new train.
It depends. I think the last time I was on the train, which was a couple weeks ago, it's the same train that you were on. So, sorry, bro. Your back might not appreciate it as much. But we'll be able to get some work done and use that time wisely. So.
For sure.
Yeah, it's not too bad. So is there anything that you're looking forward to coming up? Any shows, any conventions, any events, anything like that?
Well, we'll have our debut show, our first show of the new year. If everything works out, we'll be in Kitchener. Kitchener's having a convention as well too. It's a smaller con.
Is that a 2-day show or 1-day show?
2-day show. 2-day show. So Saturday, Sunday. Right.
Okay. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So I'll post it in the community tab so you guys can know whatever it is. You guys can check us out.
That's on YouTube for those of you who aren't
for YouTube.
The community tab is.
Yeah. Right. So we'll post it there as well too. And for most of our shows coming up next year, we'll be announcing most of them and posting them out there so you guys can see what's happening. If you guys want to come by, say hello or anything like that, or get an issue as well as you signed and everything, that'll be available there for sure.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good. Well, that kind of wraps it up for us this week. It's a bit of a shorter episode, but we've got to prep for some travel and some other things that need to be done. But thanks again for coming to the asylum and spending a half hour or so with us. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, guys, all the best. Make sure keep it indie.
Absolutely.